Okay, welcome back.
Hi.
To episode 4. Episode 4.
Wow.
We're moving right along.
Rolling.
Rolling. Well, this week we got a little bit of a new thing in our life that is different than
very different
we've ever done before
Yep.
regarding our kids.
Yeah.
Riley, since he's the youngest, we're
The
doing
only one left at home.
Yeah, the only one left at home too. A little bit different in school. He's actually going, not necessarily like a school, but it's sort of, what would you call it? Like a hybrid between...
A classical academy.
Yeah, it's sort of like a hybrid between homeschool and regular school. They go 8
Yep.
to 12:30.
Yep.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Thank you, Jesus.
He
We get Friday off.
does like different classes, and he's got homework he's got to keep up with, right?
And drum roll, please. He has to wear a uniform.
A uniform, yeah. This is something totally different for us. But
Very.
we thought this might be a good idea because there are no siblings at home. So it's just him and us. And this will give him an opportunity to meet people and not be a hermit.
We felt a little, bad for him over the last year. He's been just with us working.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the girls were there a good bit.
Somewhat,
And
yeah.
Andrew flew in for a long weekend to help us.
Right,
But
yeah.
it doesn't count for much. And the girls were honestly not there a lot. They did help us a lot, but over that amount of time, they weren't there.
No,
as
they
long
weren't
as we,
much of a help at all.
As long as we wanted them. Yes, they were. I just would have loved to have more of their help. But they went and got married, and that's
I
great.
know their attentions were divided elsewhere.
Very exciting, though. I'm so happy for them.
Scallywags.
Not the girls.
Not
The guys that took them across country. We might have to edit that. We love you guys.
Yeah. They're my favorite.
No, I do. I love our sons-in-law.
Sons-in-law. That's kind of weird to say, isn't it?
It is.
But
I know.
no, they're great guys.
And we're about to have a daughter-in-law.
Yes, that's true.
So
Coming
excited.
up.
Yes.
I got to working on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in trouble.
I don't know if anybody cares, but she found her dress.
Awesome. I was wondering. I was
She
worried
said
about
yes
that.
to
but
the dress.
She said yes to the
Hey,
dress.
For an upcoming bride, that is a big deal.
Yeah.
So
it
I'm
is.
excited for her.
All right. Well, so far we talked about the Bible as our foundation. We talked about sin and salvation longer. What I wanted to do with this series was actually go through common Christian doctrines.
Okay.
And
Let's
some
do
of
it.
them are like, and I kind of got them out of order because like the official names like theology is the study of God, Christology, you probably know what that is, right? The study of Christ.
Christian in Christ. Okay. Yeah.
What about pneumatology? That's
Study
a big word.
of numbers?
No.
Pneumatology.
The doctrine of the Holy
The
Spirit.
doctrine of the Holy Spirit. I should know this. I went to Bible college.
Soteriology. That's what we did study.
Yeah.
What is that?
Hun, don't ask me these hard questions.
It's the doctrine of salvation.
I don't know the ologies very well. I think I know geology and geometry.
What about eschatology?
Oh, wait. Geometry is not an ology. It's a geo, though.
Yeah, it is.
Eschatology, study of the church.
Study end times.
End times.
Ecclesiology.
See, I don't know this. Okay,
Ecclesi-
cut and start over. I don't know all of these.
Now that I'm making myself look smart by Pam not looking so smart, we can move along.
It's okay. I'm used to it, especially next to you.
But we got out of order, but we're going to kind of get back into that. So this week, it's about theology, which is the study of God.
Okay.
It sounds kind of simple, but yeah. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because it's a foundation. The Bible is the foundation that tells us about God because, well, let's face it, without the Bible, there's not much we'd know about God. The doctrine of theology is the study of God. It answers who God is. These are some of the things theology you think sounds simple, but it's important. I feel it's very important. You got to know who God is, right? Is God the Great Spirit like the American Indians worshipped? Is he one of the millions of Hindu gods? Is he Buddha? Is he Allah? Who is God?
That's a good point.
So it's important. Is
I
he the
agree.
God of the Mormons? It also tells us who God is not. That's important. And then also his dealings with man. So these are some things of the doctrine of theology. This is absolutely not exhaustive because short time and I don't want everybody falling asleep. That'd be bad if you went to sleep right now. So we'll keep this. So the study of God, there's a few things, like I said, without the Bible, we don't know about God. We can't observe God. We can't go to him and actually watch him and observe and study. But there's some things we can know, like creation. We can learn some things about God from creation. And obviously from the Bible. So we're going to look at a few of those things. God is the creator. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created. He is the beginning of all things. That sounds simple and it sounds like, duh, that's obvious. That's actually extremely important. And here's why. Because, well, there's a theory out there called the theory of evolution that says there is no God. And that we got here by time, chance, and circumstances. So Big Bang happened, millions of years, all this process, and boom, here we are. Well, that's not what we see. In fact, well, first of all, outside of the Bible, like I said, we wouldn't know about God. But God, by necessity, being the creator, he would be outside of his creation. That makes sense. He can't be... In other words, what I mean by that is God is no longer bound by time and space. He can't be because he created it.
Right.
If he created
That's what I was going to say.
He would be outside of it. It's like if I created a bookshelf, I'm not in the bookshelf. I'm not even on the bookshelf. I could be if I made it big enough, but I'm outside the bookshelf. So God, by necessity, he would be outside of time and space.
Speaking of creation, did you hear that thunder?
Yeah, that's right.
It's very exciting.
We've been needing some rain.
We have rain.
So this concept of being outside of time and space, that's something we cannot relate to. We can't even grasp. I mean, can you think of what it would be like to not be bound by time?
Absolutely not. It's very hard to imagine.
No, because it controls our life, right? I mean, everything we do is wrapped up with time and space. You can't be here and there at the same time. You can either be here or you can be there, but not at this. Not
and you
both.
Can't be everywhere.
Right, but God as the creator, we call that omnipresent. God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. He's all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere at the same time. So God is, he is, like he told Moses, I am that I am. Because Moses said, who shall I say sent me? Everything God is, he is it. He's the final authority. He's the creator. He's the only God. Like I said, in the Hindu religion, there's literally millions of gods. And they have different things they require. But God says he is the only God. There is no other God before him. So he's it. He's the creator. He's the only God. He's good. And he's the lawgiver. God is love as well. So these are things that it seems kind of, like I said, obvious. But to the rest of the world, it's not so obvious. It's because in our Western mindset, we've been so ingrained with a worldview, a biblical worldview, that these things seem basic to us. But I think it's important to understand that, like when you read the Old Testament, when Moses saw the burning bush, he didn't really know what name they had lost, because Moses came like more than 400 years after Abraham. So there was a time when they forgot God. They forgot who he was. Abraham knew God. Adam knew God, obviously. And then Cain and Abel knew God. Enoch knew God. These are people that knew God. But at some point after Abraham, they lost who God was. And so when Moses said, who am I going to... Because the Egyptians they worshiped many gods. There's the god of the Nile. If you look at the plagues, those plagues were, in essence, they were against the gods of the Egyptians, if you remember. Do you imagine, speaking of that, the plague of frogs? I mean, just...
I cannot imagine any of them like wanting to be there for any of them. No, thank you. I'll pass.
Lice.
Yes.
Ugh. Remember our kid? Well, our kids weren't in public school, but you remember as being a kid in school and getting lice coming home, and a lot of times. Anyway.
Awful. What do we call it? An invisible devil.
We called it it was just a pain. But anyway, that happened.
Filthy louse.
So, but God, he makes a claim that he's the only God. He demonstrates it. And one of the ways, you remember the story of Elijah with the prophets of Baal? Mm-hmm. That was a challenge. So Elijah said, okay, look, let's see who is the real God. We're going to go up. We're going to have a sacrifice. I'll let you guys go first. So if whoever's God can rain down fire and burn up the sacrifice, then that's obviously the true God. I mean, that, to me, that's a legitimate test. Mm-hmm. If you're saying your God is so powerful,
let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it. And they went and they wailed and they cried and they cut themselves. And then Elijah, I think this is a great story because he starts mocking them. Well, maybe cry louder. Maybe he's asleep. Maybe he's away on vacation, or, he's just mocking them. And then Elijah did something that kind of made up the ante, if you will. Do you remember what it was? When it came to his turn? What he did to his altar that was different than the...
Yeah, he wet it. But there was like a shortage of water.
Right, but still he saturated it with water.
The last water in the land.
Well, I don't know if it's the last water in the land, but no. So he made it even harder.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Caught fire.
I mean, it was probably gone. I bet. I would imagine if I was there, I imagine the stones were even obliterated. So God, by his claim, he not only claimed it, he backed it up. And you might be saying, well, that's just a biblical story. Of course, it's going to put God in a good light. You got to remember, the Bible is not, it's a collection of books, and it's been deemed reliable. And we go look at the first episode we did. Anyway. So God, when I say God is love and God is good, you think of like some of the stories in the Old Testament, and there's a lot of war and there's a lot of death.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that. One, in the Old Testament, God's building a nation, the nation of Israel. But when God gave a law, it was for our benefit, because think of the laws that God gave us, like the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Stealing is, if nobody wants somebody to come and take their property, I mean, that is, you go anywhere in the world, that's wrong. Stealing is wrong. It's looked down upon. So the laws that God gave us was not because he wanted to restrict us. They're for our benefit. Think of like marriage. Society flourishes when the family is a strong unit, where it's a husband and wife, one man, one woman, and they live together in harmony, raise children, and it's good for society. It's good for overall, everybody benefits from that. So the other thing is those laws are put in place, like I said, for our benefit, because God also said the wages of sin is death. Mm-hmm. Sin is destructive by its very nature. Mm-hmm. It destroys. Once we go down a road of indulging in our pleasures, whatever that is, it always leads to destruction. Mm-hmm. I mean, so that's who God is, and he's, like I said, he's the creator, he's the only God, he's holy, he's the God of love, he's good, and he's the lawgiver. We have been given, real quick on law, this is interesting, because people always say, well, what about the people in Africa? Has never heard. Well, what about those people? They have a law unto themselves, right? That's what Paul tells us in Romans chapter 5. We all know within ourselves we have a conscience. That's what we call it, a conscience. We know to do right. I mean, there's been times where you're like, I know this is not the right thing to do, but
we rationalize.
Well, we do. And so God has given us his law. Maybe we may not be like the Israelites who had it in writing, but we have it within ourselves, within our own conscience, and we know right from wrong.
Yeah.
So what is God, or God is not? God is not a tyrant. He's not a bully, and God is not one of many either. God is the God. He's the only God. Mm-hmm. There's another interesting thing. God will not force you to do something against your will. So you say, what do you mean by God is not a tyrant? What do you think? You could probably answer this one.
Well, it just depends on where you're going with that. But yeah, he's not.
This might step on some toes.
I mean, I don't know how to articulate where you're going with that, but he's not a tyrant.
Right.
He's not coming in and just causing you to do, like you said, whatever.
Right. This is going to, if you're of the Calvinist persuasion, you might want to put some steel toe shoes on, because I might step on your toes here a bit. God didn't create millions of people only to condemn them to hell through his election process. Calvinism, they don't like to dwell on this. They'll say, the elect are those that are saved. Well, if God chose to elect some to be saved, the opposite has to be true, right? That's just logic. Mm-hmm. If it's a if-then situation, if this is true, then the other is true as well. So if God elected people for salvation, then by natural course, the others are not elected to salvation. So if God created millions of people and only elected a select few, then he's a tyrant. I don't know how else to put it. He purposely created people so that he could condemn them to hell. That's a tyrant. That's not who God is. That's not love.
I don't want to serve a God like that.
No. God's not a bully either. And what I mean by that is if God determines ahead of time, like divine determinism, that's part of Calvinist doctrine. Not all Calvinists believe in divine determinism, but if you follow it to its logical end, that's what you come out with. That's just being a bully. That's you're determining things. Like you talked to somebody when we lived in Florida that she believed this, that bad things happen to Christians because God designed it that way. God preordained it.
He sent those people to hurt.
Right.
Those people.
That's what she said. I mean, that's a bully. That's purposely doing things to somebody that you know is going to be harmful. That's being a bully, and that's not who God is.
I guess I can't figure out either why it would say he's not willing that any should perish if he elected some to perish.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it?
I feel like that's a simple conclusion, in my mind anyway.
You have to twist things around a bit. Yeah, so God does not force you to do something against your will. Now, I did find one exception to this. Can you think of an exception?
No.
In the Bible?
Probably not. Just
guy
tell
with
us.
A big fish.
Stop asking me questions I can't answer.
A guy with a big fish.
Oh yes, that one. I was getting there.
Yeah, I figured you'd come to it eventually. Noah might be no, I said Noah. I meant Jonah. Jonah might be an exception to this, but God had his purpose for that and reasons. So the exception, I would say, proves the rule.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the idea of hell, you said, well, earlier God said God's a God of love. Well, why would he send somebody to hell? Well, does he send them to hell? Yes and no. First of all, if you're in this world and you don't want any part of God, then going to heaven and spending eternity with God would probably be hell to you there as well. Because if you didn't want God here, what makes you think you'd want him there where he is? So the absence of, if you're going to not be in heaven where God is, then there's only one other option for you. So by deduction, you choose your fate. So God's not going to force you into heaven. If you don't want to be there, then you don't want to be there.
Eternity is a long time.
You're right.
I'd like to encourage people to choose.
Choose wisely.
Yes.
You have chosen wisely.
Just believe. Go back to last week.
Yeah, go back to last episode. Yeah, for sure. But really, you think about this logically, God, if you, like I said, if you do not want God in this world, the thunder is getting pretty loud.
Wow.
Hopefully we don't lose power.
Is God speaking?
Yeah. If you don't want God in this world, then you probably don't want him in the next world either. So he's not going to force you. So don't put him in that spot. All right, God and man. What is God's dealing with man? Well, God created Adam and Eve to be in communion with him, right? I mean, that's what he wanted. He gave him a garden, gave him a perfect environment. Mm-hmm. But with that, going back to God doesn't force you against your will, he had to give them a moral choice to choose to follow him or not. And so that's the whole Garden of Eden story. But that's what he wanted originally. He wanted people to be in communion with him that chose to be in communion with him. It's one thing, like, we're not animals, we're not robots. God didn't create us that way. He created us in his image. And part of that is, and part of a loving relationship, like you and I, we want to be with each other. We want to spend time together. If it was a situation where you had to be here and spend time with me, that's not love, is it? There's no love in that. That's force. That's slavery. We call that. So there's no, but God didn't want that. He could have.
I can't imagine not wanting to spend time with you, though.
I couldn't either, but it's not spending time with me.
I knew what you meant.
But he created us with a free will, with a free choice to choose to follow him because that's what he wanted. And that is love. I remember you hear this sometimes in, I don't know, in marriage conferences and stuff. You say, you're the speaker, whoever will say to the wife, you should ask your husband, why do you love me? I thought about that, and it sounds good, list these good qualities and all this. But in the end, the best answer is because I choose to. Because really, you think about it, that is love. Love is a choice. You choose to love somebody. Yeah. So that's a brief overview of the doctrine of theology, the study of God. Like I said, he wants to be with us, and that's why his whole plan of salvation, to go back to the last episode, is he provided the way so that we could have that communion restored. So that's a brief study on that. There's a whole lot more to be said, but that's, like I said,
in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Now, on to our next segment. Let's get personal. I keep messing that word up.
I think you did say personable.
I did.
I think because I'm personable, Pam, and you keep thinking of that.
That's right. So our next section is let's get personal.
Right. But
before that,
I thought there was something.
We try to get a sponsor every week, just to keep the lights on and all that, pay the bills. It's business. What can I say? This week's sponsor
it's not personal.
Since we were doing the study of God, right?
Wait, I said it's not personal.
No, it's not personal. It's business.
Just going back to your personable.
That's right.
Statement.
But since the lesson was on theology and the study of God, this week's sponsor I thought would be a great sponsor. This episode is brought to you by the letter G. G for God. G for goodness. G, what are you doing?
G for golly. How do you keep getting all these sponsors?
That's right.
You're such a new show.
For those of you who are old enough to remember, this might take you back to your childhood days. Do you remember?
I'm thinking of the little book that I read to the kids. G stands for G, you look good to me.
Can you tell me how to get to?
Oh, yeah, they would have sponsors. This episode sponsored by the letter G.
Anyway, that's fun.
That is funny. Right. But we did have, we don't really have questions for each other.
No, but we have little known facts.
Okay, so I could ask you. We'll just combine it.
Yeah.
What's a little known fact about you, hun? What? See, that could be a question and a little known fact.
That's right.
See there? See what I did there?
Yeah, I did. Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Little known fact. I graduated high school at the top of my class.
Oh.
I did.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's awesome. How many were in your class?
I was the only one, but still I was at the top.
Super
I was
impressive.
at the top and the bottom.
Quite impressive.
Yeah, I got the summa cum laude, what's the other whatever, and I was also at the bottom. It was me. I was the only one. So how many people do you know could say that they graduated top of their class and the bottom of their class at the same time?
Yeah, I know a few.
Do you?
Well, no, just one.
Yeah. So I might be unique in that.
Yeah.
I went to a small Christian school, and that year I happened to be the only senior. So I got it is kind of impressive when I tell people I
very
graduated
cool. Summa cum laude.
top of my class.
Yes. That's so funny. Is it summa cum laude?
I don't know. I don't know Latin.
I think it's S-U-M. Sum. I know. I should know that.
You should.
Anyway, well, hey.
Yeah, what's a little known fact about you?
I was going to say something about graduation too.
Sweet. Go for it.
Well, mine's a little different because I dropped out actually my 12th grade year.
You did.
The first semester.
I married a high school dropout.
I was not saved.
And a college dropout too.
Did not know Jesus as my savior.
College either.
Yes, I did. I got my MRS degree.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah.
I got what I went there for. And so happy I did.
Yeah.
Actually.
Anyway,
I dropped out and my first semester. So I finished first semester of high school. I dropped out and went rogue for a semester. And then I got saved that summer. And I went back. And finished high school. And at that point, it was, I just could be a great light because people were like, what happened to this girl? Because the semester before I was barely making it, dragging through, skipping school. A lot of things were happening at home, and a stepdad got kicked out, who was a tyrant. Speaking of tyrants, and a bully.
I didn't know you then. I mean, I did.
No, you didn't know me then.
I knew you right after that we met.
Right.
Yeah.
Right before I graduated, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact. I got you a graduation gift. Do you remember?
You and your sister did. Yeah. I just saw those the other day. You got me pearl.
You still have them?
Pearl earrings.
That's amazing.
Yeah, little pearl earrings.
I was like 30.
They don't need to say how long ago that was, but when I graduated, anyway,
33 years ago.
Has it really been that long?
I think so.
I don't think so. Yeah. I think for you it has, but I think I'm a good bit younger.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Anyway, so I did go back, and I was able to be a testimony because I had Jesus.
Yeah.
And I was on fire, and not literally,
But, it's good.
But and the funny thing, actually, you saying about I didn't know you then, is that we later when we met, we talked about all kinds of things we did in the city.
Right, because we grew up in the same area.
Certainly we like roller skated past each other, or whatever, some of the things we did, social events and stuff, school events.
We don't know, because we found out later we used to go to the same skating rink, probably the same time. Friday nights, Saturday night was it? I don't remember, but anyway,
that happened in place.
It was,
and I'm quite sure.
Was it
Roller Palace?
Palace, something like that on 66th Street. Yeah, in Pinellas Park.
Yeah, anyway, it takes us back a while, but anyway, it's kind of cool that we didn't meet before because I wasn't saved, and you certainly weren't walking the walk either. No. So God's timing's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so
good stuff.
You're not a high school dropout because you went back and finished. So
I didn't say I was a high school dropout. I just said I did drop out. You did? I missed that.
Yeah, well,
I'll have to go watch the show. That's funny.
Okay, guys, I know we finished the show just a minute ago, but we wanted to add this extra section because the family camp is coming up.
We got T-shirts.
We have T-shirts, and we're actually going to do a giveaway. If you'd like to be a part of this, what you can do is email us your name. First name and last name would be helpful. Or if you have a nickname, that might be unique enough. You could do that as well. The email address is
larryglarryg at hotmail.com. And that's HOTMAIL. Unless you're talking about you. No, just kidding. That would just be me talking about him.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So the plan is the Thursday night, at the first night at the camp, we'll do a drawing and announce whoever wins. We'll
Did I say .com?
No,
I'll say it again at the end.
Right. larryglarryg at hotmail.com. Yeah.
Yes.
You got me confused on that.
Sorry.
So that's only if you're going to the camp, you're going to the camp and you'd like to be in a drawing for a T-shirt, then email us your name. Like I said, first and last name, because sometimes at events like these, you have multiple people with the same name.
Yes, especially Abigail, Joshua,
Hannah,
Rebecca.
So enter or email your first and last name or a nickname if you want. So
and we have a T-shirt we'd like to give you if you see this episode. Now, it's going to come out a couple weeks, like 2.5 weeks, maybe before, maybe 3.
Somewhere around there. I don't know.
Right
I don't have
around 3 weeks, hopefully before. So hopefully some people are going to get to see this episode. This is what it looks like. But there we go. Yeah.
If you'd like to win a cool looking shirt, I would show you the back. Then I got to get up, turn around, and there's stuff on the back.
It's pretty cool though.
It's a cool shirt.
And that's at the Allelon Family Camp in Pulaski, Mississippi, September 28th.
You can register at MississippiShindig.com.
Oh, yeah. If you're not going yet and you see this and you want to go, I think there are a few spots left.
Right.
So by the time you see this, it's going to be pretty late. So if you
sign
want
up now.
if you want to get on in there, they may only have a week left at that point.
Well,
'Cause
we'll
I
figure
think,
it out. But.
Yeah, I think time's running out. But if you see this and you want to go,
Yeah, but you can still register for a T-shirt.
yes.
Again, the email address is
larryglarryg@hotmail.com.
all righty. See you there.
And then you wanted to end on another
Yes.
bit of information.
I always like to give you some like words to live by.
Yeah, something to chew on.
Something to chew on for the week. So this week, just something to think about and chew on for the week. If you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. So
True story.
until next time.